Well, I always liked to write and liked to tell stories, and had a gift for writing purposes in school, and I just was always curious. I think journalists should always be curious. I think they always want to ask questions and never settle for just what someone tells you. And you have to like people. And just that natural curiosity, like people, and then tell their stories. I remember going to my editor and asking, what exactly you want me to cover, and they basically said everything, and anything you find interesting. And this comes back to being curious. Anything you find interesting, we'll probably be interested with it too. And the point of having bureaus was to try to connect the state. Mr. Gaylord was very attuned to the idea that we all are Oklahomans, and he wanted to get that message across, that he wanted people to know in Lawton what the people in Tulsa were doing. And also in Oklahoma, that we were bound by certain issues and how that might affect people differently in the southeast part of the state versus the northwest. But some of those issues affected all of us. And of course, then after that, I worked as night city editor for the paper, and learned working with many reporters, editing their copy. Also had a chance to be assistant news editor of the paper, work on the copy desk. And finally, the last 10 years at the paper, I worked at the Capitol. And I always wanted to cover politics and covering elections, covering legislation bills, letting people know what was going on, not just what legislators were planning bills and legislation, what they wanted to accomplish, but more importantly, hearing what people wanted to get their voice, a chance to what they felt were important issues, so the legislators could hear from the people. One thing I think all reporters are taken aback when you go to a store and someone recognizes you, or when you write a check to make a purchase, they recognize your name, and the fact that they are reading your stories and then will make a comment about that, and usually positive, and you realize that you have an important part, that you're not just covering stories, but you're really writing the history of the state. And that's just something that it's overwhelming sometimes.